I mean, they ran what we drew up, and it's got multiple options. I think it's about the third time we've ran it this year, in recent games. Actually, twice today, and once against Texas. So it's not like it's been game planned before that much, which is nice at the end of the game. And um, that's all you can ask for. I mean, we had 2 shots on the rim. Pretty close range when it's a 1-point game, and the worst part about it, in a personal way for me, is the angle that I had when R.J. Melendez shot the ball. I'd have told you that ball's going in when it left his hand. It was the perfect angle, and he used the backboard, and I'm like, it's in. And that was a pretty emotional point, whatever seconds it was that lasted. I just feel awful for our team, these kids, on the road, and obviously a tough place to play, and had some struggles and got ourselves down pretty good, and they found a way to stick together and give themselves a chance to win a game.
I thought the same thing you did, Coach. I'm sitting, it's about the same angle you had, and I thought that thing was in because it was off the glass. And, he knew the time was running out, and he never really – it wasn't like we said on – it's not like it was a catch and shoot where he had a real shot at it. It was kind of bouncing around. He got it, knew it was running out, the time was running out, and banked it. I'm sitting here thinking, that one's in. We're going to win this game. That one's in.
It was – I think some of our bench thought it was in and maybe even celebrated a bit too early. To my right, I noticed a couple bodies moving, but what do you do? Certainly got to play better earlier. That's what we just talked about, that we're just not consistent enough for long stretches, and I know it's the end of the year and you want to be playing your best, and there's no excuses at all. We understand that. Just felt good all day about it, even when we were down. Like, they kept fighting and scratching, and you know how that goes when you got a big lead, especially when you're at home, and it dissipates away, and it starts getting hushed tones, and there's some pressure involved. And I thought Wagner hit obviously just a huge shot there with the 3 ball, and he was terrific. I mean, he was so good. Arguably, at least for me, the games I've watched, that was his best game that he played. And then I thought Adu, we played against him before. He had a really good game. We had a hard time with him. He had 21 and 10, and just had a really solid game.
Adu's, they just had so much length. And they had 7 blocked shots, but they altered so many shots when we got it in there. It just makes it very difficult. But back to Wagner, he doesn't need the defender on him when he sets that high ball screen. The screener doesn't have to get much a piece of the defender. If he has a crack, he can get. What can you do? Is there anything you can do to keep him out of the paint? When he gets in the paint, it's just
he's very, very physical. He's got a great frame. He's strong. He's experienced now. He's played 60-some SEC games. He was a highly recruited, regarded kid coming out of high school, and now with the body changing and the strength and the experience, he's just very confident in getting downhill. And in the end, to be honest with you, that last play, our whole deal was, once he gets it, just basically back off. I know he made the 3, but we're going to try to get him to bounce it. And then at that point, just back off him, and because it's hard to keep him in front, and it's hard not to foul him because he's just so aggressive. He just throws that body into you, and unfortunately, that's not what it ended up doing. They obviously threw it to Adu.
The start of the second half, I thought was the difference in the game, as it turned out. And Arkansas came out making everything they shot the start of the second half. We weren't shooting very well. Were they doing anything differently the second half, or they just could you
I don't
tell?
think so.
I don't
no. Well, they had foul trouble just like we did. Both teams had a massive foul trouble. Both teams managed it to the point where no one got disqualified, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought Brazil not being on the floor obviously hurt them. And then, he made the 2 threes in the second half. And he's really improved that part of his game. That's really not what he was known for, up until recently. And, he got in a nice groove. And how many did he make today? 3. He was 3 for 5 from 3. And, he had obviously a really good game as well with 11 and 11.
One of the things I think that really kept us in the game, we only had 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that, 2 turnovers for the game. and yet we outscored them 19-4 on points off turnover. So that was a huge difference for us. Now, I've got one last question for you. We're down, I guess it was, anyway, we're down 2 right here. You got an inline out of bounds play, and I'm sitting here telling Neil, people don't score a lot now on inline outs now because the scouting is so sophisticated. Everybody knows every inline out you run. You ran a play, Riley hits the three-pointer. Was the play designed for Riley? And it looked like he came out and started to curl and then came off of a second curl or something.
Yeah, it was something we hadn't run all year long. We call it C bump, and he's supposed to curl it, but then we told him if you feel like you can break it off and bump to the drift, on the ball side because of how the defender's playing you, and basically at that point, that's what he did, and that was a big shot in the game.
It was a great time to call it, and he made a nice read. If it's C bump, he bumped at the right time.
He did well.
Now you got a couple days to get ready for the SEC tournament, and you're going to see somebody, regardless of who it is, that you've seen probably in the last couple weeks or somebody you've seen a couple times already this year. So what's your message to the team? What do you do to try to maximize this time you have before you have to go to Nashville and get ready to play in an important situation?
Yeah, I mean, again, I've said this repeatedly this year, and I know today's result isn't what anyone wants. Our fan base, our players, our coaches, nobody wants to win any more than we do. But, I got continued confidence in this group, maybe more, after this game than I did going into the game, just because of how they competed when it was, go time and when the chips were down. I mean, a lot of teams could have easily limped away, and, our huddles were really, really good. I thought our staff did an excellent job of, on their own, of just trying to keep the kids motivated and keep them continuing to fight and scratch and claw, because as all the old coaches would tell you, there's always more time than you think. But, we got to go down there, and we'll have a bounce in our staff. We've been there, done that. We've won games down there every year, and, our goal is going to go down there and obviously, be playing for a championship. But we'll regroup and be ready to go by Wednesday.
Coach, thank you for the time.
I want one last question, if you don't mind. I know Coach has got to go. Your teams at New Mexico State and Mississippi State have been good in the postseason. You've been good. Do you do any different preparation postseason than you do just regular season?
Not a whole lot, other than being very, very mindful of, not having weary legs. Certainly practices where you want to get better, right? Coaches want to practice because they like practice. They can stop it. They can feel like they can help make their team better. But, how much are you getting better now, right? Is it diminishing returns because of the weary legs and the weary minds, like not having them in the gym quite as long? And we've actually been doing that recently. But I think that's something, especially when you're going down to a place where, hopefully you're playing, a consecutive days. So you got to be real careful about how much you practice and lift and film heading into the conference tournament.
Coach, thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Chris Jans visiting with us. Arkansas wins it today, 93-92 over the Bulldogs.